So I have my first artist alley coming up in November, and I was looking for a tool that would help me get prepared and stay organized for it, but I couldn't really find anything that had everything that I was looking for or everything that I thought that I would need. So I decided to make my own Notion template, and I'm sharing it with you today because I think that it could be helpful to other people. Especially if you are new to Artist Alley or if you just need something that has a lot of different tools in one thing. I did make this with Artist Alley in mind, but it is also applicable to craft fairs or art markets. Pretty much any type of POS selling event, I think that this template would be helpful for because you can customize it to your needs and what you want. So I'm just going to go through the template and show you everything that it has to offer. And if you're interested, I do have a link to where you can purchase it in the description. So let's get started. First, we have the convention application tracker. This is a table that'll help you keep track of all the conventions you're applying to, as well as their application status, the deadline of the application if applicable, the table fee, and then the cost of any extra badges. So let's fill one out so that I can show you how it works. First, you're going to put the name of the convention. So let's say that we're going to SugarCon. Under application status, you can see where in the application process you are. So we have not started the application yet. Let's just say that the deadline is the end of the month. The table fee is $80 and the cost of extra badges is $30. So after you applied, you can move this down to submitted. If you get accepted, you can hit accepted. After you get accepted and you haven't paid yet, you can put it as payment waiting. And then once you've paid, you can put it down to paid, and then this convention is done. You did everything that you need to do initially for the convention. But if you got denied for the convention, you can put that you got denied. So this is also done, but you didn't pay or anything like that because you didn't get accepted into the convention. The nice thing about the table is that you can filter this in a handful of ways. So if you want, we can sort this by the deadline so you can see which deadlines are coming sooner than later, or if you want to, you can see which ones are coming later than sooner. Also, you can filter this by the application status. So you can see all the ones that you haven't started yet. You can see pretty much anywhere in this process. You can filter them like that. And it just makes it easier to see, especially if you're just looking for ones that you haven't done yet or ones that you are going to. Next, we have our calendar view. Let's say that we got accepted and we paid for our table at SugarCon. Now we know that we're going to this convention, so we can move over to the calendar and enter it here. This works like any other type of calendar scheduler, so I'm not going to go into it deeply, but let's just say that SugarCon is October 4th to October 6th. And we can actually include the day before because some conventions have that setup day at the beginning. And then so we just put the name of the con here. And it shows up right there. And you can see the dates that it extends to. This is helpful for when you have a bunch of cons going on in 1 month. You can see if they overlap each other or anything like that. I also have a convention attending table down here in case you want to look at the dates in a more linear format. Here you can put the convention you're going to, the dates it's going to be. Also, if you know your table number, and then you can put if it's upcoming or if you completed the convention. So we can fill this out for SugarCon. I'm just going to put the name of the convention. And then the dates, we decided on the 3rd to the 6th of October. And then let's just say our table is F16. And it's upcoming because it hasn't happened yet. And then the convention's over, we did it, you can move it over to completed. The nice thing about this, having it in the table like this, is you can do what we did before. You can sort it by the dates so you can see which ones are coming sooner. And then you can also filter this by the status of it. So if it's upcoming, you can see the ones that are upcoming, or you can see the ones that you've done already. Also to the side, I have a link to fancons website. This is a nice resource if you don't know which conventions to attend. It's a website that has a handful of conventions, not all of them, but it has a lot of them for different countries, different states and provinces, and then you can also filter it by year. So it's an easy way just to go in and see which conventions you want to go to and when they're coming up. And then each link gives you a link to the website, and then you can look like that. So I have that here just as a resource. If you don't know what to do or where to look for conventions, you can just click on that link right there. At the bottom of the page, I have an inventory tracker table. This will help you keep track of all the inventory you have, regardless of the convention you'd bring it to. I have a place for you to put the name of the item, the category of merch it is, how many you have, the amount that you paid per item, and then also how much you're going to sell each item for. I also have columns that will do calculations for you to show you how much you pay total for your items, and then also how much profit you're going to be making from your items. For the category, you can edit this to be whatever you want. Here I have a couple of categories that I could think of, but you can add some more if you would like. And then also, this table doesn't have to be specific. You can see that I just have 3-inch stickers here. I don't have like this anime stickers and this anime stickers. I just have it all as stickers. And you can see that I left the unit price blank because since I make the stickers at home, I don't really know how much they cost me per sticker. So I don't have to fill that in if I don't know the information. And you can see that the total cost is 0 because it doesn't know how much you paid for it. But it will still give you an estimated profit, though this number is just going to be a little inflated because it's not deducting any expenses because you don't know your expenses. So let's do an example. Let's say that I'm selling 4x6 prints. That is going to be in the print category. Let's say I have 20 of them. And let's say they cost me 70 cents each. You can see that my total cost is $14. I paid $14 for all 20 of my 4x6 prints. The sell price, let's say I'm selling them for $6. You can see that my profit is going to be $106. At the bottom, you can see that I have some calculations going as well to show you how much you paid for all of your inventory and how much you're going to be making off of all of your inventory. And since this is a table, you can filter it just like all the other tables that we have before. You can sort this by your estimated profit to show you which items are going to be making you the most money and which items are going to be making you the least money. And you can do this by expenses as well. If you would like, you can sort it by the total cost to see which are going to be costing you the least amount of money and which are going to be costing you the most amount of money. You can also filter this by the merch category if you want to filter it. So you can see all of your stationery, all of your stickers, all of your prints, and it'll filter it like that for you in case you just wanted to look at one type of thing at a time. And you can pretty much filter this by any one of these categories up here, by quantity, by unit price, by sell price. You can filter this to however makes the most sense to you. Also, I should have mentioned this earlier, but you can change the currency to be whatever you want it to. So here, if you go into any one of these properties, you can edit it to whichever currency you need. So if you wanted it to be euros, or if you wanted it to be pounds, you can edit it like this. By default, I have it set to American dollars, but this is changeable. So this is an international template. Over to the side, I have a handful of subpages that I think would be helpful to the tabling convention experience. So we're going to go through them one by one and I'll show you what those pages have to offer. Starting off, we're going to open the manufacturer page. I'm going to open this in a new tab just so that I can flip back and forth pretty easy. When you open the page, you'll see this manufacturer list table. This is where you can keep track of all of the manufacturers you've ordered from or ones that you would like to order from in the future. I have a place for you to put the name of the company, the type of merch they make, and then any type of notes that you would have about the company. I have this column here specifically for when you have a lot of manufacturers. Sometimes it's easy to get your information jumbled up, and sometimes you forget some things that you've noticed about the company. So for example, for manufacturer 1, you can see that I put long fulfillment time. So you know if you're ordering from manufacturer 1, it's going to take a long time for it to get to you. Let's fill out another example. Let's say that I'm ordering from manufacturer 3 and they make stickers, and they make prints. Any notes that I have about the company will go right here. So let's say that I've noticed with manufacturer 3, their packages arrive damaged. So I know that when I order from manufacturer 3, I'm probably going to have some damaged goods. But this doesn't always have to be something negative. For example, you could say manufacturer 2 has good customer service. So you know when you order from manufacturer 2, if you have an issue, they're probably going to handle it for you. Like with the other tables, you can filter this how you would like. I recommend filtering it by merch category so that you can see which companies do which things. If you're trying to find something pretty quickly, you need someone who does business cards, you can easily find the companies that do the business cards for you. And then also, like the other tables, this category is completely customizable, so you can add more merch options or you can take away some of these merch options. This is just what I could think of at the time, but feel free to change this to your liking. Right under the manufacturer list, I have an order history table. This is where you can keep track of all of the orders you placed with your manufacturers. So I have a place for you to put where you ordered it from, when you ordered it, how much you paid, and the order status. Also, if you need, you can put the order details in here too. So for example, let's say that we did order from manufacturer 3. We ordered it last month and we paid $100. We can put if it's processing, like we placed the order but it hasn't shipped yet. You can put that it has shipped, and then you can put that it's been delivered. And then for the details, let's just say that we bought 20 prints. That's expensive for 20 prints, but you can see right there. And then like with all the other tables, you can filter this as well to when you ordered it. You can see the ones that you ordered sooner, the ones that you ordered later. And then you can also filter this by the delivery status. So we can put the ones that are processing, the ones that are shipped, and then the ones that are delivered. I don't have many in here right now, but you can see this will be helpful for when you have a bunch of items and you just want to keep track of everything. So here you can see that you can filter it like that. And if you needed to add more things to the order status, you can. I think that these are enough though. And then also, since this table can get long as well, you can hide this one too to keep everything nice and neat. Next, we have the convention revenue subpage. This page is probably the most complicated outright, but just follow along with me and you'll see that it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. When you first open the page, you'll see this convention revenue table. This is where you keep track of all of the money that you've made and spent for each individual convention. I have a place for you to put the name of the convention, the dates, how much you made, how much your expenses were, and it'll calculate the profit for you. The reason why I say that it's complicated, since this table seems pretty simple right now, is each one of these rows, each one of these conventions has a subpage that goes along with it. So I have it set up for every time you make a new row. For example, we'll put SugarCon since that's the con we're going to. You can see that it automatically makes a page for it. Before we open that up, let's just fill out some of the things on the table. We can put the dates of SugarCon since we know that already. We set the 3rd to the 6th of October, and that'll put that right there for you. For the revenue and expense, we're going to leave that blank for now. We can fill that out in a second. So you're going to want to open this subpage. You can see that there's already going to be stuff in here for you. I'm going to open this up in a new tab just so that it's easier to see. Okay, so this is the same as this. I just opened it up over here. The first thing you have is an inventory table. This table is the exact same format as the table that's on the home page. The only difference is you're going to fill this out with inventory that you're just bringing to this con. The one on the home page is all of your inventory. This one is just the one that you're bringing to this con. So you can see how much you spent on inventory for that con, and you can see how much you're going to make or how much money you can possibly make from that con. Now, since we already did a table like this, I'm not going to fill it out, but again, it works the exact same way as the one on the home page. Now, under the inventory, you have a revenue and expense chart. This is why we didn't fill it out on the page prior, because we're going to enter in some information here. This is where you're going to put all the stuff that you sold and all the stuff that you spent for this convention. These are only going to be costs that are associated with this convention. I have a separate page for you to put indirect expenses. These are just going to be direct expenses. So let's fill it out with a couple of items. Well, we know for a fact that we spent money on the table fee. So we can put that here. It's an expense. The price, how much did I say it was? $80? And the quantity 1. We just paid the table fee one time. You have to fill out the quantity no matter what. So we paid the table fee one time. The total is going to come out to $80. Now let's say that we had to buy a couple of helper badges. That's also an expense, so we're going to put that right here. The cost, I think I said, was $30. And let's say that we bought 2 of them. So you can see that we spent $60 on helper badges. Now let's make some revenue. Let's say that we sold some of those stickers that we had. We're going to put that down as revenue. We were selling them for $6, I think I said, or $4. It doesn't really matter. And the quantity, let's say that we sold 25. So you can see that we made $100 on stickers. Now, let's say that we sold some prints. I'm going to put 4x6 prints. This is also revenue. And we sold these for $6. And let's say that we sold 35 prints. You can see that we made $210 on prints. So you're going to do that with all of your revenue and all of your expenses for this con. Once you have that filled out, you can see that I actually have some filters on here already. So if we go over to the revenue tab, you can see that it filters it just by all of the revenue you made. And when you go to the expenses tab, you can see it's filtered just by all the expenses you paid. At the bottom of each of these tabs, it sums the total up for you. And that number right there is what we're going to put in the boxes that we left empty on the page before. So I'm just going to insert those numbers, 310 for revenue and 140 for expenses. So I'm going to go back to this page. 310 for revenue and 140 for expenses. So you can see that for SugarCon, we made $170 profit. And that is how this page works. That is how this table works. So it seems a little complicated because there are a lot of steps, but this is all so that you can have this information in one spot. Now, after you've had a bunch of cons or a handful of cons, you can go over to the chart view. Here on the chart view, you can see your total profit for all of the conventions that you have on that table. It separates them in this nice, neat pie chart. I have it filtered by your profit right now, but you can change this table to be filtered by something else. So for example, let's say that we want to filter it by our total revenue, not our total profit. You can go over to these 3 dots, go to each slice represents, change that from profit to revenue values. And now you can see all of the revenue that you've made from each con. You can do the exact same thing for the expenses. Go to expenses, values, and you can see all of your expenses from the con. This is just a nice way to see all of your cons in a more visual format in case the table is a little too complicated, or not complicated. The table it's just boring to look at. But the nice thing about the table is you can filter it like you can with the other tables. So if you wanted to sort it by how much profit you made, you can see where you made the most money and where you made the least money. And you can do the same thing for your expenses, where you spent the most money and where you spent the least amount of money. And then also with revenue, where you made the most money and where you made the least amount of money. And you can do it like that. Now by default, I have these tables separated by a year, But you can have one big table if you want to, or you can sort it by quarter or month or however you want to do it. But I will say, Notion, when you have a free account like me, you're only allowed to have one table in your entire workspace. So if you look down here on 2025, since I have a free Notion account, it won't let me have another table. So that's just something to keep in mind. That's why if you have the free version, just put everything in one table. Or if you don't care about the chart, then you can do the multiple tables. But if you do want this chart, keep everything in one table. And then you can just filter it by date if you wanted to see specific years. Next, we have the indirect expenses subpage. This is where you're going to put all of your costs that are not associated with specific cons. For example, I have business cards and a Square Reader. Those are things that you can use for multiple cons or things that weren't intended for one con in particular. I have a place for you to put the name of the item, the category of item it is, and if you need to put a description, you can, and then how much it cost you. So, for example, let's say that we bought a fanny pack to keep our money in. We can put that in missed expenses. And these categories, like the other categories, you can add things to it and take things out of it if you want. Description, to hold money. And the price, we paid $20 for it. You can do the same thing for your inventory, because inventory is an indirect expense unless you were buying it for a specific con. Okay, put that in inventory. Description, let's say we got like stickers or pins, and let's say we paid $150 for those. Those would go here. All of your inventory would be in indirect expense unless you were making it specifically for one con. So for example, if you had a stamp rally going on and the prize was a keychain, you would put the price that you paid for the keychain in the table in the subpage for the con itself, not in this table. But if you were just buying keychains, like you bought a bunch of keychains, you would put it in this table because you can use those keychains for multiple cons if you don't sell out of them. If that's a little too complicated, you don't have to include inventory at all, but it is nice to separate it. It keeps your books a little cleaner this way. Editing Bear here, I just want to say that I am not a tax expert, okay? This is just how I like to keep my records. This is how I do my books. If you handle your inventory differently, then that is perfectly fine. Consult a tax expert, okay? I am not him. Like all the tables, you can filter this by price if you wanted to. So you can see what was the most expensive for you and what was the least expensive for you. You can also filter this by category too. So you can see the amount you paid for certain types of items. I have this separated by year by default, but like I said before, you can make these whatever you want it. You can separate it however you would like to. I actually just thought about it right now, so I put a place for you to enter what date you ordered it on, so that way you can filter it by date too. Next, I have a packing checklist. This is helpful if you forget where you put things all of the time. It's a table that shows you the item that you have, if you packed it, and where you packed it. So for example, let's say that we had to pack our stickers and we didn't pack it yet. And then when we did pack it, you can choose where you packed it. So I put my stickers in suitcase 1. Just like the other tables, you can edit this property to put your bags that you have. And then if you wanted to, you can even add another one to show whether or not you shipped an item, like if you shipped it to a hotel. So you can say the stickers, I actually shipped that to the hotel, so you don't have to worry about it anymore. And then I have these tables separated by your convention. If you're doing a bunch of conventions at one time or they just kind of run into each other, this is a nice way to keep track so you know where your things are. And like all the other tables, you can filter this. So if you wanted to filter by location, you can show what items you have in each bag. Or if you wanted to, you can filter this by the status. So you can show the things that are packed and the things that you haven't packed yet. And you can use it like that. And finally, we have the tabling milestones subpage. This is just where you can keep track of certain accomplishments that you've done throughout your tabling experience. It's an optional page. All of these pages are optional pages, but sometimes it's nice to see the things that you have done. It's easy to get lost in the things that are going wrong. Sometimes it's nice to look at the things that are going right. So I have a place for you to put the milestone that you want to reach, the progress that it has, and then the date that you achieved it. So let's just say that we want to sell desk mats for the first time. We can put that here. And then once you have, you can put the milestone reached and the date that you reached it. I know that some of the milestones don't necessarily have like an in progress status. So if you don't want to, you can just leave that blank until you get it done. Just like that. Like with all the other tables, you can filter and sort this. So you can sort it by the date that you achieved it to see which ones you did later and which ones you did sooner. And then also you can filter this by your progress. So you can see the ones that are in progress and the ones that you've done already. And that's all there is to this subpage. But yeah, that's all my template has to offer. I think that this would be pretty helpful for beginner vendors or even just people who need a little more organization to their convention selling process. I will clean up the template a little bit to get rid of some of the extra items that are in here. I will leave some things as like a tutorial so you can refer back to it, and then you can just delete it if you don't need it anymore. But I'll have this in the description on where you can purchase this template if you would like to support me. And I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know whether or not this template would be helpful to you, or if you have any suggestions on what I can add to it to make it even more helpful. But thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.